everyone. This is the Baron, and we're going to be doing another class on small group tactics. As you can see by the background, I am in a different location. I am in the process of working on my part-time job, which is a defense contractor. So I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling for the next 50 to 80 days. So you'll see this hotel room and you'll see a few others probably. But in the meantime, I'm here, I'm going to be traveling. So every time I go someplace, I'm going to try and meet the local group, have a good discussion. There's having archery this coming Sunday, so I'm going to go there and do some archery with them. Maybe I'll do some video there too, see if it's okay. In the meantime, though, a little more background again, like I said. I'm a retired Army officer, and I have gotten many, many years and many, many deployments as an Army officer. So I know a lot about small, medium, and large group tactics. And as I said, I'm a defense contractor, part-time employee, so therefore I still teach it. So the one nice thing about small group tactics is when you use it, you can always expand on it to a much larger level. There are many different acronyms that the military uses, which is quite good. We're not going to get into a lot of those. I'm just going to hit key points. So I have a small little dry erase board. Unfortunately, the way that the light is in here and everything, when I start drawing, you might see reflections on stuff or a change in color, just the way it is. So what we talked about last time was essentially a rover, a single person that runs off from a larger group and is now breaking formation to do some type of activity, which is make the enemy take off a portion of their force to attack them, delay their force by increasing the amount of time that those people are away from the forces. You can also do things such as use the terrain, determine the speed at which you want to fight. You can go out there, hit, and then run away. And then as they start coming back, you run back, hit, run away. Some in the militaries, it's called guerrilla tactics or raiding, different things like that. Raiding is where you essentially go and attack, cause confusion, grab something that's important. In this particular case, is actually going in, hitting someone in the leg, they drop down, and then you run away. So, excuse me. So now what we did was we talked about 1 against 2. That one rover against 2 of the other side, they break off 2. You usually want to have a numerical advantage. That's pretty much always the key. That's why you break off 2. If it's one-on-one, it's a single fight, and usually the person that has the better skill, better range, better agility is going to win. So you always want to have a numerical advantage. So that's why you break off 2 to attack the 1. You have a better chance of killing that rover, but you're also losing personnel. So, excuse me again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, instead of just 1 rover, you're going to break off 2 people. And then at that point, the enemy will break off about 3. Because if it's 2-on-2, as if it was 1-on-1, single fight. Hello. Let's see. I'll be recording this. Hopefully that's okay with you.
Hello.
All right. So what I was talking about is on the last class, I was teaching on small group tactics. It was essentially 1 person breaks off and then the other side breaks off 2 people because you'll want a numerical advantage, 2 to 1. So you want to be able to kill your opponent quickly and then go back. Now we're going to be talking about is if they break off 2 people, then the opposite opponent wants to break off 3 because you still want the numerical advantage. In the meantime, what's going to happen is when you break it off, you want to see what the composition is. So if those two that break off are two sword and shield people, okay, what's going to happen is, get my nice trusty thing here again. So you got two sword and shield people, all right? If they're going to go off, these two are essentially going to do a lot of small rover type activities. They might fight together for a bit, but they will more than likely break off, and one person will cause essentially a wall effect, i.e. they stay there and the other person's going to do a lot of moving, okay? That's pretty much what you're going to anticipate when you see two sword and shield people. If you see a sword and shield and a pole arm, or a sword and shield and a great weapon of any kind, those two are usually going to always stay right next to each other the whole time.
Mommy loves you, and I am here, and no matter
Can I, I have you mute your mic, please?
you hear me? Yeah. Right? Yes. And we're gonna be.
Hello? Thank you. So,
But you have
Harry?
to promise me
Thank you. So what's going to happen at that point is we're just going to start off with two swords and shields for right now. What's going to happen is the person, or there's going to be three people on the other side that's going to break off, okay? At which point you determine whether it's going to be the left two or the right two, and they're going to stick together. And at that point, let's say these two stick together. This person is going to break off. And like I talked before, you want to have a main element and a support element. This is going to be the main element. This is going to be the support element or the flanking element. So at which point now you got 2 against 2 and the flanker on there. Now, if this is going to be sword and shield, what's going to happen is this sword and shield person is going to usually come up here or backtrack. And this person is going to come over here and do a one-on-one battle with the support element on top. Now, everything is going to be dependent upon how well everyone works together, fights together. If they've been fighting together for a long time, they know little tricks where this person's going to be going backwards, but then might be going back and supporting his partner. Or they might come up here like this, and the smart move is to come up here and then do a hard left. Now, why would you do that? Okay, essentially what happens is if you do this, what's going to happen is that these two people are going to turn and they're going to face this direction against the opponent. Now what happens is you have two totally separate elements that are totally not paying attention to each other, not communicating, not working together. That is the smart move, because now if this person is really good, and this is the person that should be really good, they will kill that person. And now that person can come over here and flank the other two. So this person needs to understand and be visually aware of where his opponent is or his friend is compared to where he wants the opponents in position. Okay. Now, say for example, these two are fighting, and all of a sudden this guy kills this guy. That's why this one needs to see this. If that happens, like, well, you know, I don't think I can kill these two, but I have now went and taken 3 people out of the equation for 1 minute and 20 seconds. Now I'm going to back away, run, go back to my team, and hopefully at that point my team has either killed half of them, and now we have a numerical advantage. Now we're going to talk about the same thing, but a different makeup. Okay. Again, we're going to do 3 against 2, but this time instead of the 2 being a sword and shield and a sword and shield, we're going to make it a sword and shield and a polearm. Okay. So remember, the formation that I say that you need to have for a sword and shield and a polearm, or sword and shield and a great weapon, is going to be the sword and shield is out front, and then usually the polearm person is going to be 1 step or half a step back and to the right. Okay, therefore they have a good way of striking the opponent when they come in. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to have 3 people again. When you see something like this, what's going to happen is they're going to determine, are they all 3 going to step forward at one time? Okay. Are 2 of them going to step forward and 1 is going to flank? And if it is, which one is going to flank? Is it going to be this one or is it going to be this one? You have an idea on which one you think should flank?
No. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing the page, but I would think that the one, there you go. So I would think that the one that is going to flank is going to be the one on your left. And then the guy in the backfield of the bottom guy. The bottom guy, he's going to counter flank.
Well, one of these 2 is going to flank.
Oh. The furthest one away from you is going to flank. He looks like the one that's mostly in the position ready to wrap that line. He's furthest out.
This
yes,
one?
that one. Yes.
Okay. There's actually 2 really good ways of doing it. Okay. Because this is a sword and shield person, all right? The person flanking here and going towards the shield causes this person to have a bit of a blind spot. So at that point, what happens is, because besides the fact that it's a blind spot for this guy, it's also a blind spot for this guy. So if this person flanks over here, this guy cannot see it. So this person's either going to have to go that way or go this way to keep eye contact if the person flanks over here.
Yeah, because he's in a single file against the one that you are saying is a flanker. So he should step off to the right or left, but you've got the other guy flanking the guy in the backfield that's supposed to step off to the right or left. I would think that he would countercharge him to keep that line from actually rolling over them.
And you're correct. The best way for this type of action to occur is for these 3 to all move forward
at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And then this person immediately quickly comes over here.
Yeah.
So this person breaks off, which causes this person to shift. And then as soon as this person shifts, this person now comes. And this is what I was talking before about what's known as a pincer movement.
Yeah.
Pincer movement is whenever 2 things come in, and they're usually what happens is the one in the middle stays. So
yeah,
a lot of times they're like, well, you go like this, and well, that's called engulfing. But a pincer is where you kind of want to pinch them forward, stop their movement. And then what I had before was combat archers, where they were moved over to the side. So as soon as these people start shooting, the person with the sword and shield will put the shield over here and the sword over here to try and block, which creates an opening in the middle. So at that point, it is the exact same effect in this type of situation. They come forward right before they get into range. This person comes over here, makes this person get into essentially a wall or a non-movement position and just shifts place. This person moves, at which point, as soon as this person moves, this person comes in over here. Now, this person has a choice. This person has to either continue to flank and try and kill this person.
Yeah.
How this person is chasing, which is usually what happens. But
Yeah,
at
and
that
that's how
point,
you get into the swirly.
right, the whirlpool of death or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happens, then the third movement is the center person coming in to take out this.
Yeah.
Now what happens is that this person is over here, this X comes over here, and now this circle comes over here. Now you got 2 against 1 again.
Yeah.
And this person comes in, kills him or legs him, and then hopefully comes back in, and now it's 3 against 1. This is where a lot of these movement things come into play best during practice. So when you're at a practice, like I said, you do a crawl, walk, run method. Crawl is what we're doing now. This is what we want to do. And then you go through, you take your sword and your shield, you don't put the helmet on, you want to have good visibility and not confusion. And you just go through and you're like, okay, let's step, step, step. All right, person on the right, advance 2 steps, engage.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as the back person moves, person on the left starts doing a nice little, not a straight run, just a nice little shuffle to speed up.
Yeah.
And then at that point, once everyone's engaged, the person in the middle comes in, punches through, what we always call a nice little come straight in, take a step over the side and throw down to the leg.
Yeah.
Run right around the person and then engage 3 against 1.
Yay!
That is the best way to do it. But that's the thing. You guys have to communicate. You have to understand this is the way. And what happens too is, say, for example, so much stuff. Now, let's take, for example, here and here. Everyone comes forward. Now, say this person decides to run to the side. Okay?
No!
What they're trying to do is they're trying to do a flanking move.
Yeah, but they've left his friend out there to die horribly.
Exactly. But here's what happens. Everyone's like, oh, well, we're watching this guy, and everyone shifts, not movement, but just visual eyesight. And then this person stops moving, and this person now flanks over here. That's what happens. Everyone, as soon as engagement occurs, they lose focus. They lose what the plan is. But the problem is no one knew what the plan was to begin with because they don't practice it. And that's where practicing these things at your local groups or in a baronial practice, or if you have like a TOC, a Tournament of Champions, or chivalry, or wherever like that. These are the things where you have melee practices. But these are small group and not melee. Because when you do melee, it's much bigger, everyone's in a line, and we'll do a lot of that stuff. But it's these individual small group aspects that really come into play. And the things that you really need to have is you really need to have a couple fighters that are just incredible with defense. Then at that point, you're on the shield wall. And you're going to be out there and you're going to be just blocking everything. Block, 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 block. And what's going to happen is once the shield person is blocking everything, the opponent that's striking focuses instead of, hey, I see this picture. I'm now just continually focusing on why can't I get this person? And the sides are wide open. And then all of a sudden the person comes from the side and you're like, whoa, oh, and as soon as they move, then that person in the sword and shield wall, once they're lost the focus onto them and they shift, that is when that person needs to start striking. But a lot of people are like, I'm just up here hiding and blocking, and I'm not. There's targets of opportunity right there. Throw the shot. Go there. I am my goal right here is do nothing but block until an opening, and I strike. Block, strike, and that's it.
So do you like triads best or pairs in working groups in a melee?
I hate to say this, it all depends on the group, because you're going to get those individual people who are like, I am so good.
I've got a lot of beginners.
And this is the best part. When you have beginners, the best thing to do is tell them we're going to do nothing but a defensive action, or I'm going to do nothing but an offensive action. And they teach, when I teach people how to sword fight, a lot of people don't understand how to both attack and defend. So they're like, I'm always defending, or I drop the shield and I'm just attacking. I'm not really defending. So what I do is I teach them what's known as a 2-minute drill. And what that is you put the shield up, and then all you're doing for 2 minutes is just throwing shots. And the other person is doing nothing but blocking for 2 minutes. So what's happening is they're now getting away from the mental confusion of, should I be attacking? Should I be blocking? Should I be, and then they cause, and they stop, and there's a big opening, and they get hit. So once you go through 2 minutes of straight attacking, you're like, okay, I'm seeing the shot. I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not thinking about a defense. I'm not doing any of that. Then you're doing defense. You're like, okay, this, and it becomes muscle memory. It becomes less confusion because you're either attacking or defending. Same thing like this. When you get people out there, hey, I'm brand new. We got a whole bunch of people. What do we do? All right, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to have all the new people just get in a line, and they're going to be nothing but a shield wall, because that's what you really need to understand. And then from there, what you say is, all right, when you're in a shield wall, you don't put the shield up here like this because you can't see. Also, someone with an axe can still go over the shield and still hit you in the head. So what you want to do is you want to have the shield so you can see right above it, and then put your sword right up here to block the headshots.
Yeah.
Then from there, you teach the people, all right, when you see an opening, you never throw for the person in front of you. You always throw to the person to the right of you.
Okay.
Because the person in front of you is so focused on the person in front of you that as soon as they're like, ha ha, they get hit from the side because their friend sees the opening. So that's the first thing, is to always get into a line and then just practice blocking the shot. And as soon as you see from the peripheral vision an opening to your right, go ha ha ha, strike, ha 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 ha, strike, ha 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 ha, strikes. That is the first move you should always teach anyone or a group of people in a melee, or especially in a shield wall.
Mine was, follow me into this mess. There was no training.
Because there never is. Everyone thinks we can make this up and we will either die glorious or we will have the best victory ever. How about if you just plan? Okay. Plan and practice. It's not that hard.
Okay.
But it is for a lot of people because they were never taught. They don't know tactics and strategy. They don't understand, well, why is this person running over there? Because they're flanking you. So you always need to develop from the basic and then keep on progressing and increasing the intensity of the fight. So everyone understands why, and seeing the shots of opportunity, or, okay, they're doing this. Why are they doing this? There's also a thing called a sideways peel, which is freaking phenomenal. And what that
Okay.
is you got two groups of people, okay,
Okay.
two lines, and they're coming in like this. And
Uh-huh.
right at the last minute, they start shifting, and this line comes over, and it
That's a
starts.
little scary.
Well, it's like, why are
That's
they
scary.
shifting? Why are they? We're still in a line, and then all of a sudden they start turning. So all of a sudden your forward movement stops, and then you start shifting. Once a line shifts, you create what like an angle point.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a weak point right there, and that's
Uh-huh.
the purpose of the sideways peel. You just go in there and you just kind of unroll. It works great.
That's scary because when it catches the line, like say my line in it, you've cut off half of that line with that maneuver.
Right. Now that, like I said, that's much larger melee tactics. But what is the way to stop it?
I would say charge into it and mess them up.
Not, nope.
No.
Because
What?
because people are moving, right? How do you stop
Yeah.
movement?
Some sort of counter movement.
You either get in front of it,
Yeah.
or you create, or you make them stop. Well, what's the best way to make them stop? You bring all your spears out to
Yeah.
stop that movement, because now, hey, you just keep, yeah, I got 9 feet on you. You're trying to come in. Just keep on coming, and I'm just going to keep stabbing you. Because I have the range and killing capability, they either have to do one of two things. They either have to stop moving, or they're going to get hit, or they have to rush and charge. And that's why what happens is you get a lot of spear people forward, and
Yeah.
then you get behind them a whole bunch of sword and shield, and then all of a sudden you hear a charge, you back up, you bring the sword and shield people in, and then they stop the charge. So
Yeah, but that sideways peel looks like you caught that line in an L shape. Like even as they were peeling out from behind their group, they were also angling sideways, like boxing that line in, right?
yes, and that's the goal. I would always stay in the middle. What you want, but at that point, this is
Can
where.
you move spears up that fast to counter them?
Oh yeah, usually you have your spears. You have a set of sword and shield and spears in the first row, so they can kind of jump each other.
Okay.
That's in a
Okay.
big melee. The other thing that you want is, like I said, be in a larger group. You have, or from small and medium, you don't have this. But when you get to the large group, what you have is you have the main element, you have a support element, and then you add a third, and that is the reserve.
Okay.
The reserve element is the one that you put your smartest person on, who's in command. And you're like, all right, you're my people. If I say shift right, we're going to move right. If I say, all right, I need 5 pole arms, you need to go over there, protect the guy in red. Boom. All right, 3 spears. All right, you see that group over there that's doing archery? Go over there and protect those 3 archers. You just go over there and do that, because
They're the traffic cop.
yes, because at that point too, you're also finding the weakness in
Okay.
your opponent's wall. Because
Okay.
like I said, the people that are on the front lines are like this. They maybe see like a little bit, but they don't see the entire thing. And you need
Yeah.
to find out, hey, this group is weak right now because we're doing a resurrection battle. And we got a whole bunch of them. They're weak. They're going to go back, resurrect, and come back. Hey, look, we got like 12 of them, and they're going back really slow. It's going to take forever. All right, we need to charge that and punch through that wall right there, and then push them to the right. And then you 5 people, I want you to flank to the left. So whatever people that are coming in from our resurrection point, we now have a funnel for everyone to punch on through. So you need to find out their
Okay.
weakness, their speed, their strength, their concept. How many major wars have you fought in?
I've been fighting for
Such a
30
boisterous
years.
laugh on, okay.
So I've probably been to, I'd say 25 Penzigs and maybe a half dozen Gulf Wars.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
My personal favorite is Gulf Wars. So
I like Gulf Wars, but it's such a bigger field at Penzig. I mean, hugely bigger and a different type of soldiering up there, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
It's really aggressive. It's really packed on the field, and it's not one that I would send a beginning unit to unless they've done a lot of local meleeing, because it's very scary.
very
Whereas Gulf Wars is much less so, a little more laid back, a little more so that you know everybody on the field kind of thing.
Right. It's not just one gigantic field. They're like, all right, we're going to do this, and now we're going to do it this way. Now
Yeah.
we're going to do it as part of the castle. Yeah, they really mix it up really well, and it's to me
Yeah.
it's really good. The thing that I always hated the most about Penzig is like, all right, big field battle. All right, go. All right, everyone get ready. We're about ready. Okay, now charge, hold. Ah!
Yeah, there are a lot of
Someone got
holds.
hit. Who called a hold? Oh my God. We're not even hitting. We're not even close to each other. Someone's way down there. It was like,
Everybody's like, was it our group? Was it our bridge? Yeah, I know what you mean. There was one battle that we had a hold every time the whistle blew, like 2 minutes after the whistle for like an hour. And finally the marshals were like, we're done. This next thing, whoever side calls a hold, they lose. It was like the bridges. We had just like won 3 of the bridges or something like that. And they were like, you're piling up here. We don't want to call another hold. We've been out here for what? An hour?
I can't remember which one it was, but like I said, we were getting ready. They said, lay on. And we took one step and there was a hold. And it was like, what the? And then they said, oh, everyone pop your tops, get something to drink. It's like, we haven't even fought. What's, someone's injured way down there. And it's like, I mean, this one was really, now we got to wait 10 minutes.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm like, I'm not a big Penzig fan. I understand the thing, but it's like, just, and yeah, sometimes you kind of have to hit to your extreme sometimes on some of the people. I mean, I've gotten hit in the head by a friend of mine. He was on the opposite side. He said after it was over, he's like, didn't you feel me hitting you in the back of the head? I was like,
no.
He's like, oh yeah, you leaned in, and I was like, wow, right on the back of your head. I said, I'm sorry, man. I did not feel it.
I had someone tell me that in the middle of a field battle. I kept on getting pushed from behind. And someone later told me, I kept hitting you, and you didn't acknowledge it. It could have been a tree for all I knew.
Well, the thing too is you got to have visual recognition that, hey, you're engaged. If the person didn't do that, how did you know? You didn't know you were engaged.
Well, I can kind of see their thing. We were kind of in the woods, but it was kind of a broken line. I mean, it was one of those where you're approaching a line that's facing each other and kind of spear dueling throughout a line of people. So I kind of understood that. But I mean, it didn't feel to me like I was being hit. It felt more like one of my buddies was pushing into my back.
And that happens too. And I hate to say it, there's really nothing wrong with that unless someone gets so mad that they intentionally really want to hurt you. But we have to
Yeah.
understand that this is still a game. Everyone's learning,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, sorry,
Yeah.
I know we went back. We're going into big melee tactics.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to go back to the small stuff again real quick. And then
Okay.
it's like, man, I've been talking for 35 minutes again. And
Oh, that's okay.
goes by
I
so
could go on about this stuff for hours.
yeah, this is awesome. So now go real quickly. Now
Okay.
let's talk about if there was 4 people. Okay, let's say there's 4 and there's 3 over here. Usually you're never going to get 3 sword and shield. You might get 2 sword and shield and a pole arm. And at that point, what happens is you're now essentially going to do, or you're going to have a situation where you're going to have a rover again, and
Yeah.
then usually a sword and shield and a pole arm person. So, and then they're going to break off, at which point this person should break off and have a 3-on-2 situation again.
Yeah.
What some people will do is they will try and break it off evenly to try and kill the rover quickly, and then
No, you want the maximum number of people against each of them. So if one is going to break off, you need and you've got 2 over there, then it's just best to let the 1-on-1 play and let the 3-on-2
exactly.
take the tinier
This
unit.
is the most dangerous thing. So you want your max to get to kill these people, and then at that point it's 4 against 1, or
Yeah.
however it is. But yeah, a lot of times what people don't, but they're like, well, this is my friend, so he went that way, I'm going to go with that. No, you
Well,
by the
that
text
that
before.
tiny unit the bigger unit should already know what their game plan is before they start moving. There should be communication between the commander of the unit as to one person will break off and the other 3 will follow into the mess that they're about to create.
Exactly. And that's what needs to happen. But then what is the configuration? Like I said, we'll have a sword and shield, and then we'll put a pole arm here. Well, what calculation of weapons would you have for those 4?
Ideally, I'd like it, I'd like it 2 long weapons and 2 sword and shields. But you could do 3 sword and shields and 1 like spear or pole weapon or something like that. It depends on, it really depends on a lot of things. It depends on the experience of your fighters, because me working with beginners, I want them all to have sword and shield.
Right.
I really do. If they're experienced fighters, gods of polearm and spear, I would like them all like that. But you never get that. You usually get a mix of beginners, intermediate, and gods of whatever weapon.
Right. My configuration would be this: sword and shield.
Okay.
This one over here, sword and shield, so a lefty, preferably.
Okay.
And then here would be sword and shield and a pole arm.
Okay, so 3 sword and shields, and if you're lucky enough to get a lefty, and a pole arm.
Right. And at this point, what happens is these 2 right here can, okay, this person's flanking, this person goes and joins this person and attacks, or say this person decides to switch over here and this person, now these 2 can flank over here and get the person. You want to be able to have the flexibility of being non-committal right away. You want to be able to have flexibility, but still have the same combination, the same composition available. Now at that point, sword and shield, and as I stated before, I always like to have a pole arm, not for the upper attacks, but for the pole arm to be aha, and they come up like this, and then they drop, and then they thrust underneath the shield or
Yeah.
the sword side of the person in front of them, and then they just leg them into the leg, thrust them into the leg, thrust them into the hip. Down to the ground they go. You've now legged
Yeah.
them, and you go away. Because so many pole arms just go, oh, I'm going to get you in the head. And they're
Yeah.
like, ah, I'm blocking. Ah. It's like, do you not see the lower body is wide open? Now, this is also important. Say, for example, here.
Yeah.
This sword and shieldman should always have what on their sword?
A thrusting tip?
A thrusting tip. Because if this pole arm gets so dedicated, I'm throwing high, okay, I will just drop and I will thrust.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things too that I would train a lot of new fighters. All right, when you're like this, if the pole arm person is high, because if he's throwing high, excuse me when I say he, I mean he, she, they. I'm not.
I got it.
The person that they're fighting against will pretty much always either just go straight shield up or sword and shield up. And once the sword and shield person that's fighting on the opposite side is seeing that their guard is high, they need to be able to just drop that tip and thrust to the leg.
Okay.
And the one command that needs to be yelled all the time is they're legged, they're legged, they're legged. And then everyone just runs away from that person.
Okay.
Because it's like, they're legged. All right, well, let's just keep on trying to kill them. No, run away.
Yeah, my beginners tend to want to do that. I mean, we're on the epidemic right now, and they're talking amongst themselves and, you know, playing D&D and that sort of thing. But when we talk about them being legged, they're like, but then I can kill them. And
Kill
I'm like,
them later.
no.
How about this? You can kill them after we kill everyone else, and we'll say you get to be the. We used to have what's known as a line.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, you legged him, you get to be the first one. And then who wants to try and kill him? Okay, you're behind him. So if he dies, you get to try and then you just create a line of the people. All right, single file combat on the legged person. And it was kind of fun at that point, because then at that point you're like, you still get the chance. All
Yeah.
right, I still get to do it because I legged the person, but you're also giving the opportunity of doing the correct part of the combat. So
Yeah.
um,
They have a hard time with legging them and leaving them. I
what
mean,
group are you in?
I'm in Atlantia. I'm the landed baroness of Ponte Alto.
Ponte Alto?
Yes, we are in the Washington, D.C., Fairfax area.
Okay.
So, yeah. We have a lot of new people right now.
Oh, cool.
So,
Great. No, I would love, I do a lot of traveling, and I love to try and meet new places, see new people, see how they do things. But it is amazing how so many people, they, like you've been doing this for 20 years. Do you really have some really good fighters that can teach?
no.
That's the problem.
Right now in
When
the
those-
SCA, a lot of people have gotten to the point where their kids have grown up and they're kind of tired.
Burned out, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
And
keep
so,
it interesting and fun.
yeah. And so what I've been trying to do during our epidemic time is trying to collect a lot of information so that when we do get back onto the fields and do get back to practices, it's not just get into armor, let's fight. It's get into armor, let's try something new this week.
No, and that keeps it interesting and fun
Yeah.
and exciting.
Yeah.
And the reason I
I mean-
started doing all these classes and stuff is literally every place I've gone to, almost every kingdom, and many, many groups. They're like, yeah, we want to do something different, but we don't really have anyone they can teach. We don't really have the capability or the imagination on how to make it different. And I'm like, well, you know what? I've been teaching this for over 20 years, and I'm going to shoot it out to everyone. And hopefully stuff like this will continue to grow and get better. But I think one of the things that needs to happen is several kingdoms actually have like melee practice, maneuvers, everything like that, which is good. But it's also hard to get a big group of people. Like, I'm from North Dakota, so hey, it's freaking cold out in the middle of winter, and we only have a really small building. So trying to get a whole bunch of people to do melee practices in winter in a big enough site is very rare. And then most of the time, those groups would rather have tournaments than to actually practice melee in winter. So yeah, it's a battle sometimes to find it, but I think there needs to be, like, every 3 months, a really big push to reinforce these types of things.
Well, our thing for my particular barony, we have 2 practices a week. One is on Sunday and one is on Thursday. And the Thursday one is at our local elementary school. So that is normally tournament fighting. But the Sunday one is at a huge picnic ground.
Perfect.
And I'm trying to get Sundays to be the melee practice day once this starts up, so that we can start doing pairs and triads and small unit, just stuff. Like, one of the things that was suggested to me, because I'm the landed baronage, is challenge one of the other baronies to come out, bring their people, get your unit together, give them favors, and for that Sunday practice have, the equivalent of shirts and skins, and just have like a Gulf War scenario kind of thing, or a Pennsic scenario kind of thing.
That's a great idea. Yeah. And then you keep, like, all right, we're going to do small group where no more than, let's say, 5 people.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to not just have the 5 people, but we're going to have 4 groups of 5, and so we're going to have 5 on 5, but this is going to be an open battle. And these 5 on 5 is going to be like a path or a ravine or a bridge battle. And then change it up, try different things, and then say, hey, you know what? After lunch, we're going to change up the stuff, because each one of those 5 should have a commander. And then those 5 say, hey, you know what? I want that tall guy that I know he's like has Coke bottle glasses like crazy, can't see anything, but I want him because for some strange reason, he is the best thruster I've ever seen with that pole. So I want to put him over with this person, and I want them to try doing different things. So therefore, like I said before, one of the things, I like pairs, but I prefer triads. If you have at least one really new person that doesn't really know, then that one person gets really good experience.
Okay.
But I would fight, me and a friend of mine, he was 6'7". So he was like a foot taller than me. I was with a 9-foot spear and he was with a polearm. No one could kill us. I would go and I would thrust, and then I would drop the tip, and that person would run up, and right before he would hit me, I would take the spear shaft and shove him over to the side so his angle would be off. And as soon as his angle would be off, that guy would come up and go, wow.
That sounds like a good
together, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to get to.
Cool. Yeah, well, that's what I would like to get it to. So that's part of my research for this epidemic time, is to try and get enough ideas for my group to be able to practice effectively and get better. And I thought by getting them to choose a battle buddy, someone that they could train with,
yes,
and key onto the field would be the first step. But a lot of Atlantea's stuff is based on triads. So,
But like I said, you get two good people, add a third that's brand new, and then they can start figuring out what works out. Because those
okay.
people could say, hey, you know what? You're a terrible sword and shield person. Okay, just being honest. You know what? Try Florentine. And all of a sudden,
Oh,
it's
dear.
like, okay. And have the person go out there and it's like, oh, you're a terrible Florentine or two. Okay. And just, make it fun. Be realistic. Don't be mean, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
that. But just go out there and go, hey, you know what? Try Florentine, but try inverted Florentine. So essentially like a Madu. So try do a sword and a Madu. And I have seen more people, strangely enough, who can't really fight real well.
Yeah.
They fight really good with a Madu.
Oh,
So all of a sudden they're out there and they're like, yeah, because they're not using that shield to blind themselves every
yeah.
time. And that's been the biggest problem. So if you go out there with a Madu, that person's like more mobile. They're like, it's like, this is not hard. So,
Yeah.
but I would definitely say come up with a plan, come up with,
Okay.
we're going to do 2-person tactics, 3-person tactics. We're going to walk through a few things. We're going to do a ravine. We're going to do a path. We're going to do a broken bridge. We're going to do open field, and then make them shift their configuration pertaining to their environment, the situation that's at hand. Because all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're on a path and we can't go left, we can't go right. How do we go through this? Maybe a sword and shield. Everyone having sword and shield is not the best option. Maybe we should have had a glaive. Maybe we should have had 2 glaives or 1 glaive, 1 9-foot spear, and figure out, like I said, for me, whenever someone ran up and they were confined, just take that spear, drop the tip down, and just move them left to right. It was such a simple technique, worked every time. And someone like that can also work with a pole arm. If they go and they thrust with the pole arm, they can still take the pole arm and not bow staff it, but one end over and push the person out of the way. And they can even, instead of just pushing, they can step and do the half, where they take the entire pole arm and then they half it. And then at that point, now they can do a full body shift to try and control the opponent. And
Okay.
once they're like that, then they control and they can push up, and then everyone can start doing body shots and everything like that. So, and yeah, you get like the biggest guy, weighs 300 pounds. You're like, the steamroller. We had one guy, called him the snow plow. Oh my God. He wasn't the greatest fighter, but yeah, you wanted him to break up that line. You told him to rush, and he just came in and then shifted it, just, and just people were off their feet. No. It's always the safest, but gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna end this one for today because man,
Okay.
this went really fast. But I'm gonna be doing these about once a week for several weeks. If you have any more stuff, please have. If you want to, I don't know if you have a lot of the fighters in your group. Can come on to Zoom. We can have a special Zoom class where we can get all your fighters together and come up with some scenarios and stuff. I would love that.
Okay. Well, I will ask my small but intrepid unit.
All good.
It's like herding cats.
Everything's herding cats. All right.
Well, until next time.
Definitely. Thank you for showing up. And until next week, we'll keep on thinking of some new things. And please also bring me any type of suggestions, ideas, and definitely experiences. It's always wonderful to hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.